Hey Jules, happy Wednesday. I came to the barn to check on one of my heifers that's about ready to have a calf. Say hi to Violet. We're waiting on a baby. So while I was up here, I just thought I would film the devotional up here, something different, and it kind of goes with what I'm going to talk about. You guys know the Lord drops nuggets to me while I'm here and speaks to me. And so last week when I was milking, the Lord dropped something in my spirit that I wanted to share with you guys that encouraged me and reminded me that no matter what we are going through, and you guys know how hot it was. I think it was last Sunday whenever he had dropped this in my spirit and I was milking, and it was so hot. I mean, miserably hot. And cows still have to be milked whenever it's that hot outside. We don't just not milk because it's that hot. And the Lord just reminded me and just began to minister to my heart about, no matter how hot your situation is, no matter how hot your circumstance is, you are still to produce fruit. John 15:5 tells us that he said he is the vine and we are the branches, and that those who abide in him will produce much fruit. And if they're not producing fruit, we know what happens. We are cast out. And so regardless of our situation and circumstance, we're still to produce fruit. And what the Lord was showing me through this is, as hot as it was, and as just flies were blowing, it was hot, pouring sweat, the cows still had to be milked. They were still producing their fruit, what they're called to do. They still came in the milk room, they still ate, and they still poured out milk because that's what they're called to do. They didn't say, we're going to stay in the back field under a shade tree because it's too hot for us to go up there, because we don't feel like it, because we just can't, it's too hot. They didn't stay in the air conditioning, so to say, or the cool place. They still came up to pour out what they had. So what's our excuse in the most hottest of seasons, the most hottest of days, whenever we feel like we literally can't stand it? Instead of staying in our air-conditioned, comfortable place, I'm speaking in a spiritual realm, go produce your fruit. Go still do what you're called to do in the hottest seasons that you find yourself in. Because it doesn't say that we are to just stop when it's too hot or too cold or whatever. We're still, because if we're abiding in him, we're to produce much fruit. And that's what the word tells us. And so I just encourage you today that regardless of how hot your season is, I don't care how spiritually sweaty you're getting, how spiritually hard you're laboring, whatever it may be, we're still to bring fruit to him. We're still to be working and moving. Even though it was that hot, they still had to be milked. They still poured out what they had. And you know what I found when it's that hot? They may be lacking a little bit in their milk, but they still had a plenty. They still brought something even on the hot day. So even if you feel like, man, I don't know if I have that much to give, I'm really going through a hard time. As long as you are still putting one foot in front of the other, you're abiding in him, you're doing what he's called you to do, you're staying and dwelling with him, keep bringing what you have. It may not be an abundance of what it was in the last season, but as long as you're bringing something and you keep one foot in front of the other, he will sustain you. And so I hope you guys have a wonderful and blessed day. So just be encouraged and reminded, as hot as the season gets, we're still to produce fruit. Have a great day, Jules.